there's a lot of different channels out there that focus on tech and camera and media and all kinds of other things that you could purchase for Black Friday deals. But I haven't really seen too many channels get into the weeds looking at some of the deals for our pets, especially amphibians, reptiles, and invertebrates. So in today's video, we're going to look at some of the better websites and, in my opinion, some of the more trusted sources for feeder invertebrates and pet supplies and other things like that. Some maybe more niche things like carnivorous plants or some ants. We're just going to take a look at a bunch of different sites and kind of talk through what's going on and what are some of the better deals, maybe what you could be looking for this holiday season. So with that being said, let's go ahead and share the screen. So we're going to start out this episode here focused on the wild vivariums shopping list for Amazon. So this is where I have a lot of the products that I use for my animals, maybe stuff that I'm going to do a review of or things that I stand by. So you can see here there's a lot of different things. Right now, one of the better deals that you could easily purchase is right here. I'm not too familiar with the brand Lucky Herp, but look at how cheap these watts, like these ceramic heat emitters, 100 watts, 50 watts, 75 watts. I was at Petco 2 weeks ago to purchase about a 40 watt ceramic heat emitter for a new tank, and it was like $40. And here for Black Friday, you could already see that I bought one 100 watts, but these are actually on sale for the holiday, and I think this would be perfect if you have a reptile or if you have maybe a more exotic amphibian that needs a little bit more heat. I know in Pennsylvania at the time of the recording we've had some massive snowstorms, so with that being said, it'd probably be a perfect time for that. Here's something really cool that I think you would enjoy. I already bought this as well. It's basically a feeder dish for a crested gecko, but what I think is really interesting about it, especially if you have a tree frog, this would be the perfect type of a water dish. If they're smaller frogs, those little dishes that you could take in and out, those types of things, I think that it would be very easy to wash those out or to get new ones altogether. But how perfect would this be for, some type of arboreal frog that wouldn't really want to come to the ground anyway? And now, you buy something like this, with it being a magnet and being so strong, those, like the little gray tree frogs I keep, they're not going to be able to knock this out, so it wouldn't fall down and, have any risk of hurting them. But I really do think this would be a good sell right here, a good buy, whatever you want to say. But I'd pick this up if you have a gecko that eats fruit. I could also see this being a good purchase. So I thought, just starting out here with some of the things that I think would be really cool. I'm not going to cover everything on the list, but I just wanted to break down a few different things that I thought would be of interest to you guys. So we could take a look here at some of the soil. I'm not too sure if any of it is on sale, but what I'd like to do with the soil is use it as an additional piece, so like Eco Earth or Repti Soil, and I like to throw in different things like carbon or activated charcoal. Doesn't look like it's on sale, but that's not too bad for $12.97. But yeah, and we'll get into Josh's frogs here in a little bit, so I don't really want to cover them too much. But if we look at some of these important parts of our pets, here we go. We've got a good deal on Oxbow, critical care. This is carnivore care. Some vets will sell this. And if your animal stops eating or if your animal gets really sick, you could actually use a syringe and you can feed your pet this to keep them alive, hopefully to get them strong enough that they could come back to eating solid food. But again, this is a pretty good deal, 15% off, so $11.89 for the whole package there. That was pretty good. Let's take a look here. Reptivite's pretty decent in terms of calcium. It doesn't look like any cell, so we'll just keep going on. Missouri Better Bug Gut Load, again on Amazon. We'll take a look at Missouri as well. I think they have better prices on their website. So I'm not necessarily a brand snob, but I look at the things that I know work, that I test out. So here's a good one for everybody. I don't know if it's on sale. It doesn't really look like it. You can see I've purchased this 5 times. This is what a lot of vets use. This is F10, and this is how you spray out and get rid of all of the parasites, all of the pests that plague your animals. If you have reptiles and amphibians and they have had parasites, if you've ever gotten their poop tested, and if you haven't, shame on you. You should definitely get fecal samples if possible of your frogs and toads to know if they have parasites, but this completely wipes out and eradicates them. It is safe for frogs and toads, but you want to get it out of the environment, especially if you have an ecosystem in your enclosure, like if you have a vivarium with isopods. This will kill the isopods and everything living in it. So just something for you to to think about. But let's see here what else we can look at. So I think I'm pretty good with Amazon right there. There's some other deals maybe that I'm not aware of. Let's look at, I guess, real quick some of these. Yeah, this is a good deal. So what would this be? The reason why you would get this, the blue, so what is it, cordon blue, basically that's what I call it. But I use this for antifungal things. So if like an animal is in jeopardy of getting fungal infections, this would be perfect for putting on them. It's safe, especially even for their eyes. So like I had an issue with Esther the wood frog, and she scratched her eye on the background, which was a little sharp, and it was having a hard time healing because she's in a constantly dirty environment, right? She's going around soil and branches, leaf litter, and I just would apply this pretty much a few times a week with some assistance with different professors and herpetologists, checking in with them to make sure that I didn't put too much on or make too strong of a dose. But basically you would put little drops of this into like a water bottle like Aquafina or Fiji. You would drop some eyedropper into it, you get an eyedropper, drop some drops, keep saying that, but keep dropping the droplets into the water to get to a certain color of blue, shake it up, and then use the eyedropper to then directly put it on the animal like an IV. So it's a really good thing to have. Here's something that I started to buy, and I think you should too. This is a regulator for pH. So you might be wondering why this matters. This is to make sure that the pH for your animals is steady and safe. So if you have too low of pH, it could actually acidify the water, and with it being a 6.5 to a 6 or even lower than that, depending on what your tap water is, or if you use reverse osmosis water, this is the perfect thing to regulate the water back. I use it every time that I do get large quantities of water for my animals, whether it's through the tap or it's through a rain barrel or even through a reverse osmosis system. I will portion this out to get it to test at a 7 for pH, so that way the animals are in a significantly better place. So those are some of the better things. I guess we could talk about this too, because this is a good test kit. Okay, you get $7.13 off. So I use this pretty regularly. You could see the different options for what you could do. So of course you're going to want to test the pH, and if you wanted to test the high pH, you could. Let's say you're afraid your water level, the pH is too high. You'd really want to test ammonia, nitrate, and nitrite for frogs, because as their poop goes into the water, or if you have debris like a large water setup, like a water feature for a paludarium, you'd want to test that to make sure, just like any aquarium, any type of tropical fish, you want to make sure that you're treating the water and taking care of it. And ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate are all toxic to frogs. It'll really wipe them out quick. So just having the opportunity to test that, and API Freshwater Master Test Kit. It's a pretty good, I stand by that. Like, I use that all the time. So I'd recommend picking that up. I can't believe it's $50, to be honest with you, but this is what the price was. I think in 2019 it was around 35 as well, so it's nice to see it getting back to more of a regular type of price. But I guess we'll keep going here real quick. This is on sale, not by much, but Lifeguard. So these are tablets that you could put into the water that will dissolve. I actually do use this. It's another fungal treatment for your frogs and toads. It's been verified by a couple of different professors and herpetologists, but anyway, so it's a really incredible thing that you could use, especially if you have a paludarium, but I would not use it if you have inverts that you care about, because it probably will kill them. But again, this is another really good fix if you're worried about fungal infections, even if you pop one in every so often. So I invested in a lot of chemicals for my animals for their water quality. You know, amphibians start their life in water, so here's a really good deal. We got Microbe Lift. This is called Night Out. So what this is going to do, there you go, it says it rapidly removes ammonia and nitrate. So if you're afraid that you have too many frogs and they're pooping in the water, here's the perfect item to buy that you're able to regulate the water quality. So I do have the 16-ounce one, but there's also, I think, smaller and larger. What I'd recommend is if you have a much larger area, like if you have a pond, or if you have like a, I don't know, 1,500 gallon or something crazy, I'd get the 1 gallon or 64 ounce. But you know, 16 ounce is pretty good. You know, if you wanted to kind of be a little cheaper, the 8 ounce would work as well. But once you start using this stuff, if it works, you know, you're going to want to have it on tap as much as you can. I think those are some of the big ones that I wanted to hit. We could take a look here at plantation soil. Yeah, I don't think it's on sale, but that's okay. I have not purchased the bricks in a while, but anyway, I believe that's it for the most part for here. So there's a lot of different options that I have here. Let's take a look now. Let's move on to Josh's frogs. So here is what I think is a really good deal. So they've got, let's click on this real quick. So at the time of this, and this will be going on through Black Friday, so that's good. But you could see right here, so you could purchase different creatures and you'll get 20% off. So obviously that is the biggest thing. Here's a really good deal right now. Let's see if it'll take, yeah. So you could get the reverse osmosis. Oh, okay, never mind. I thought it was going to be like the entire system. That would have been amazing if they did that. $20, 20% off the entire system. Excuse me. 20% off the entire system would be amazing. Oh, look at that. So you get all these for free if you buy the misting system, or the reverse osmosis system. 20% off dubia roaches, off plants. That's really good. 20 reward points for every review. That's pretty good. So let's look. So the dubia roaches are pretty expensive, but once you establish them as a colony, they're incredibly resilient and hard to get rid of. So I'd recommend purchasing dubia roaches for all of your feeders as the staple. So I feed very small ones, about the size of like my fingernail, like my index fingernail, maybe middle fingernail, to the great tree frogs. If they're like the size of my thumbnail, I usually will feed those ones to the White's tree frogs, and slightly larger than that, and all of those mixed sizes, whether it's, you know, index fingernail, thumbnail, or slightly larger, that goes to the toads. So I don't really feed the adults. Once they get to a certain size, they kind of have the opportunity to live out their entire life without being hunted by me, but their offspring, like the real little ones, are what I'm after to feed my animals. But it's one of the best feeders if you can get around the stigma of cockroaches. I think it's an incredible feeder, so I would recommend that one. So let's take a look here. let's take a look at all feeders first. So I do this every so many weeks, but um, again, there's no special sales on any other insects other than the roaches and other than the dubia roaches, because you could get the orange head. You can also get, if we go here, you can look at the domino roach, the dwarf hissing cockroach. These were on sale though for a while. Um, I actually considered using them as a feeder, but they're just not quick enough to establish, and they eat wood and debris and stuff, and it's like isopods. But let me show you another hack here. This is another sale that's going on. I already had purchased these before, so I will have to get back to you guys on the channel whether or not I think this is a good idea. I bought 3 of these, but these are the peanut beetle. So peanut pests, whatever you want to call them. They look identical to mealworms in my opinion, and I am hoping to use the larvae as another feeder insect and maybe even to colonize them for my creatures, like my reptiles and amphibians. You can see here, perfect, it says hardy, right, protein rich, but what I'm excited about is creating a culture of them. But the one thing that Josh's Frogs does say, and I'll make sure I emphasize this, the one thing that Josh's Frog says with these peanut beetles is not to actually feed the beetle to your reptile or amphibian, because it can make your animal sick. But the larvae are fair game, so let's dive back into it. I just wanted to give you that disclaimer because, again, I don't want to see anybody's animals getting sick or anything like that. So that's why I wanted to issue that disclaimer. Anyway, so we have the peanut beetles, which I think are a really good deal. I already bought some. I actually have an affiliate link with Josh's Frogs, so I'm going to attach that to this video. And if you want to get any feeder insects, anything that you see on sale, I actually pay for overnight shipping for all my insects. I pay the money. I do FedEx. For me, it's just better for my schedule. I buy them in the morning. I know they're coming the next morning or the morning after at the latest, but it works. Even on a Friday night or Friday morning, if you buy them, then you can expect Saturday or Sunday they're coming. But anyway, here's another really important creature that I add into the ecosystems. It's in the 242 gallon with the toads right now. This is the European nightcrawler, which I think is a really good, it could be a staple feeder, but again, I think it's good as a variety. So with the dubia roaches and the peanut beetle larvae, I think the earthworms are another good variety. So if you want to know what to feed your frogs and toads, we're kind of looking at some of the staples as what I think would be the best options in terms of, what could you sustain your animals with. I'm not saying that this has to be the only feeder that they ever eat, but what I am saying is using all of them together. If you fed your animals everything that we're looking at here, just the 4, if you count the crickets, you're going to have more variety than probably the majority of reptiles and amphibians that get fed by their owners across the world. So, by having 4 or 5 go-to feeders is a big deal, and the animals will appreciate it. It'd be like, I say this, example a lot on Facebook and through other forums, but you don't want to just have hamburgers or ramen noodles your whole life, all night, every night. You just go home and that's what it is. You need to have variety. You need to have things work out, and the only way that's going to happen is if you purchase more than just the ramen or just whatever. So what I'm suggesting is think of the crickets, the earthworms, the roaches, and different creatures kind of like they are chicken and turkey and hamburger and steak and all those other things. They're protein, they're high in protein, and you want to give your animals what's high in protein and then supplement them in with the fatty foods, like maybe it could be the peanut beetles, unless I find out they are a staple. It could be mealworms, it could be others, but then there's special instance creatures like caterpillars. They're great for hydration if your animals are sick, or if your animals are dehydrated. There are other things that are good too, like flies are really good, high in nutrition. But anyway, again, I think crickets are my go-to for the majority of my creatures, my pets here. So what I like to get is the half inch, because if I buy half inch, I have them for a longer period of time. If you buy the 1 inch, you better be ready to feed them off. You better have something that's able to eat the crickets super fast, because if the cricket only lives 8 weeks and you have it through probably 4 or 5 weeks of its life already, maybe even 6, that's why they die so fast when you buy them from pet stores. So I'd only buy the 1 inch, like the adults, if you're either in a pinch or if they're sold out, or if you have that many animals to feed them to. Let's talk about one invert though on this list that's kind of, I don't want to say it's up for debate, but in my opinion it is. I would consider isopods, depending on what you feed them, as another staple for your animal. A lot of people might disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. I'd be willing to have that conversation, but they're calcium. They're basically just straight up calcium. So if the roaches are protein, the crickets are protein, the peanut beetle is protein, the isopod is calcium. And then you have your hydration, which are the caterpillars, the hornworm or the silkworm. And then you have, your fatty foods like the waxworm, the mealworms, different things like that. I think that isopods are fantastic. So there's so many different options. I'd encourage you guys to look on Josh's Frogs. They even have food for them if you don't know like what to feed. This is what I've purchased and what colony I have living right now in the Woods and Forests community. So these are fantastic. They get huge. They're a perfect feeder. I know that all of my animals would gladly eat them if I gave them the opportunity. So again, this is a great feeder, but also if you let it establish or if you want to raise something, I'd pick this one because it's big and it can handle a lot of different environments. It's very hardy. If I had to pick one, I'd say this is probably the hardiest of the isopods that I'm aware of. So just to give you some perspective, we could take a look real quick at some feeders as well. So a 25 cup will last you a while if you have great tree frogs and other critters, but they get huge, so you want to feed off the hornworms as quickly as possible. So it's kind of like a feast or a buffet type, not a word, it's kind of like a buffet or a feast style feeder, which means that that as soon as you get them, the clock is ticking and they're going to get too big for your tree frogs to eat. Now if you have toads, that's fine, they'll eat them large, or if you have White's tree frogs that are adult size. But if you have like juvenile tree frogs, or if you have tree frogs that are small like the gray tree frog, the green tree frog, even the squirrel tree frog, you can't let them get very big. So you have to keep them away from a warm surface or any type of like warmer ambient temperatures because they'll grow rapidly. But you also want to feed them off as quickly as possible. It's primarily the hornworm that struggles with that, but we can look at the silkworm. It looks like sadly they're sold out, but this is another really good feeder. There are some cultures that actually eat silkworms, but anyway, this is another good one. So these, I think Josh's Frogs has made this claim. I'm not going to put them in that box though, but there are a lot of different places that believe that the black soldier fly larvae, just the larvae, could be a staple feeder because they're a grub and they're high in protein. Let's see here. So it's not saying that they're considered a staple, but high in calcium, so that's really good. But anyway, so then you look at the fly. This is what the black soldier fly looks like. It's perfect as an additional feeder. I'd consider it more like fatty, but again, yes, perfect for tree frogs. I second that. My gray tree frogs will hunt them. The White's tree frogs kind of just look at them. They used to hunt them, but as they got older, they don't really go after them. I'm curious to see what my bell frogs will do, though, if they get a chance to hunt them, because they do go after stuff, which is really interesting. But anyway, I wanted to showcase these. I primarily switch and rotate between waxworms, reptiworms, and mealworms, and have the staple feeder as the dubia roach or the cricket, and I'll occasionally throw in the hornworm. And this is like, you know, over the course of 2 or 3 months, what I'll rotate with. So I think that's a really good choice. So let's take a look here. Let's look at plants real quick, because I think plants are a very unique aspect of what we could do for our animals. So we have some really cool stuff here. You have the Swiss cheese vine, again, $7.99 or $7.19 even. That's even better. 7 left at the time of recording. Probably might not be in stock when this video comes out. But you've got baby tears. I think this is a really beautiful plant here. So my tanks, I primarily use native species, so I don't purchase too many from Josh's Frogs, but there are some naturalized that are from around Pennsylvania that grow like this. There's an education center that I work at, and there's autumn brilliance fern that's been growing for years. This does grow as a perennial outside. It does grow in your frog and toad tanks. It can stand up to frogs and toads that burrow, but again, I think this is a perfect plant for your frog and toad or any reptile or invertebrate tank. It's a very beautiful fern, and if it gets enough sunlight, if it's outside, it'll change and it'll get like these red, like it says, the autumn brilliance. So it changes that color, especially a little bit earlier on in the fall. You see that. I don't know if I clicked on this or not, but I just wanted to, because beautiful looking plant. If you're into variety, if you're into adding more than just green vegetation for the animals for stimulation, I think that's perfect. This is a fantastic plant here. This is a good picture they have of it, so you can see it growing in somebody's enclosure there. I did used to have this, and it grew for me, but it needs a very humid environment from my understanding. I didn't have success with lower humidity keeping it. But yeah, the autumn brilliance fern, if you're a frog or toad keeper, more like native stuff. The brilliance fern is something they might actually come in contact with, because they sell autumn brilliance fern at Lowe's, they sell it at Home Depot, and a lot of landscape nurseries get it in. So it's a naturalized fern, and it's very likely that frogs and toads in your neighborhood have seen it. If you have White's tree frogs, though, if you have bell frogs or the white-lipped tree frog, I believe that they have that also on this website. You want to really check out the ferns. Stuff that came from Australia is what I would look towards. Here we go. This one is primarily in Australia. I actually purchased this, and I have it in my Australian vivarium, so I'm not going to give away too much, but I think that that's a really good fern that I would consider buying again. But a lot of these, if you click on them, what's nice is you have the opportunity to see where they came from, which I think that's an amazing job that Josh's Frogs has done by tracking down where they're actually from. So let's take a look here at this one. I don't know if they have it. I don't know, wet loose soils worldwide. Probably in Australia, but something that's been distributed very regularly. Let's keep going here just real quick, so we could just take a look at what we have here. Parlor palm. This is another one that I grow in my gray tree frog tank. It's just really good at filling spaces. They can't really climb on it too much. It's too thin and frail for the frogs to really get on it and mess around. When it gets bigger, it's a different story, but it's a beautiful looking plant, and it's a good combination with ferns and peace lilies. So I would recommend the parlor palm. You can find it at Lowe's and Home Depot, but again, if you purchase these things, whether it's insects or plants or anything else like that reverse osmosis system, if you purchase these things with the link that I'll provide here, I will actually get 10% commission, and it'll go towards feeding the frogs and toads or buying them even maybe some plants or different things like that. We have some incredible Venus flytraps already in the Woods and Forests media community, but these are probably the carnivorous plant everybody knows about. So I'll just let you look at that real quick. $5 for a plant, 21 left in stock. So I think they're really cool. This is the time of the year though that they're going dormant, so you can't really get a whole lot of use out of them. I literally have mine in the refrigerator as we speak, a thermostat controlled refrigerator, so they don't freeze and get too cold and die, because they are from the southeastern US. But again, I think that the Venus flytrap is a good deal. It's a good sell. If you're going to look for carnivorous plants, if you're a carnivorous plant enthusiast and you follow us on the channel, I just wanted to kind of offer some things for you as well. So if you do like carnivorous plants and you're here because of that, give us a shout out in the comments. Let me know, hey, carnivorous plant fan here. I appreciate the content. If you are somebody who likes Josh's Frogs and you found us through them, or you found us, through the partnerships we do with them, comment in the video Josh's Frogs or something about Josh's Frogs, and I'd be happy to read that as well. So let's continue to look here. What I want to look for is, well, let's do pet invertebrates real quick. This is really fun because I think the pet invertebrates are, very special, and they have a lot here that are not in stock, but it looks like 20% on tarantulas, which I think is a good deal. Again, those roaches are out. So here's what I would look at: the millipedes. You guys, if you're a millipede enthusiast and you found our channel, or you care about the American giant millipede or the bumblebee millipede, give a shout out in the comments for them. It just helps me to understand who's watching these videos and who cares about the content we're making for this show. But anyway, so they're not in stock, but we're going to be doing some incredible stuff with the millipedes from Josh's Frogs. They have captive bred programs that they're breeding the native millipede. So I'll click on it real quick. So you can kind of see this is the native millipede. This is the millipede that I already currently have. I purchased from them. Beautiful native species that's captive, which is even better, so you don't have to go and take them from the wild, which is probably not a good thing. But anyway, very large millipede, very inquisitive and curious, love to eat leaves and fruit. I would recommend them as a good pet. I don't really recommend starter pets. I recommend long-term pets. So even if the millipede lives for a year or two, it could also live 8 to 10. So I'm going to recommend that you care for something for a long-term commitment. That's all. Bumblebee millipedes, I think, have a shorter lifespan, but again, they're also on here. I think they're beautiful as well. Really cool looking millipedes. Special. I love their coloring. So just wanted to give them a shout out. You can't buy them for the Black Friday deals because they're out of stock. There's another thing. They don't have it advertised here, but crabs. They have land crabs. They've like vampire crabs. So that's another one that's really cool. One of the other things that I want to look at is the RO system. So right now they were saying stuff was on sale. They have a bunch of different options. I have Hydrologic. It's kind of funny they added this later. This is the exact one I have. Really amazing system, but you have to be very careful that it doesn't impact your frogs in a negative way. But let's take a look here. So it's a 50. So it's $159.99. It's going to come out, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's going to come out a little bit slower than some of the other misting or some of the other reverse osmosis systems. But if you're okay with like that, it's Josh's Frogs brand and they put out really good stuff. But you're going to be waiting a while for a 5-gallon bucket with 50-gallon, as opposed to, I know this is probably overkill for many of you, but I'd recommend, like, if I was going to buy a reverse osmosis system for Black Friday, I'd look at this for a deal, because Hydrologic makes really good RO systems. So anyway, so that's primarily what I'd be looking at. I'd look at the 20% off deals here that they have. I think this is their version of Black Friday sales. So you can look at the plants. We looked at the reverse osmosis one. We can briefly click on dry goods. So you've got different soil options, looks like gift cards even. So a lot of different options here that you could feed insects or use terrarium substrate. But I want to kind of stray away from here now. So, you could definitely check out Josh's Frogs. And while we're at it, here, let me go to my link. So if you type in Josh's Frogs / my name, Aaron Capoli, then you'll get this. And if you buy stuff with this feature, then you will tack on that 10% that I will get from it. And I'm now 28, so this has been 2 years I've had this. I don't really push it too much. I don't try to sell you guys stuff on my channel, but I do want to review quality products and get deeper into this because I know Josh's Frogs would like to see more stuff featured here, and especially having this section on their website, which I'm grateful for. I was kind of I was pumping out content about the Swiss cheese vine and the autumn fern and stuff that I stand by. That's why. So you can see there's Australian plants here. A lot of stuff is sold out, sadly, but these are what I would stand by. If you're gonna buy anything, I don't know why everything is kind of lumped in with lighting, but you can see the misting systems that I stand by. Arcadia makes fantastic lights. What is this here? Oh wow, it's discontinued. So they're trying to get these and sell them off. I didn't know that they discontinued that for ZoomEd, but again, it'd be a good quality light for you to pick up. Not very powerful, it's a 7.5 watt, but pretty good. So that's kind of my section for Josh's Frogs. I'd love to open it up a little bit more and get more on here, but anyway. Oh wow, so the price came down. Oh, it's a show pickup, that's why. But yeah, 36 by 18 by 36 is typically like $500. So let's see, 4-year vivarium. You saw I specifically had them add the earthworms and canyon isopods, but here's a lot of the feeders that I stand by. You can see the dubia roaches, you can see the soldier flies, the earthworms. So if I would feed my animals anything, I'd start with my list here. I think these are the best feeders that I could see. Hornworms are on here, so if you were wondering, there's banded crickets and dubia roaches, mealworms, a lot of the stuff that I had positioned in this video. So just wanted you to have a chance to see that. So let's kind of go on now. So if you are a carnivorous plant nerd, if you're excited about what's going on here, if you want to look for plants, these are some really cool plants right here. I've seen them actually in person down at the plant nursery. Really cool looking. Would be good to live in a tree frog paludarium type setting. Really good in a marginal area. So beautiful plant, already on sale. I think that's a good deal. So let's look here at Venus flytraps. Let's see what's on sale. I don't think I got any emails from the Carnivorous Plant Nursery about what's on sale for Black Friday, but we'll just go and take a look here. I don't have any skin in the game with them like Amazon. I don't have any affiliate links for a lot of these websites. I just genuinely wanted to showcase some of the better products that are out there, and in this case some of the better plants that I think you could grow and be successful with in your tanks, or if you like. I think that there's a lot of really cool looking carnivorous plants here. The reason why I'm showcasing carnivorous plants is because they are featured for the YouTube channel, but the other side of this is that we are going to be doing a program where the Carnivorous Plant Nursery donated some plants, and Josh's Frogs is going to be working with us donating some millipedes, and we're going to take these plants and these millipedes to different classrooms to allow students to observe them, watch them grow, and take care of them for multiple weeks. So some of these carnivorous plants are going to be making that journey around southwestern and central Pennsylvania to different classrooms. So a lot of different varieties of pitcher plants and Venus flytraps. I think that it'll be really cool to showcase that. Just showing you. Oh, look at that. This one's sold out. That's a shame. Yeah, these are really cool to see. I have a video of a recent trip down there in November, in the month of November. So if you're interested in seeing the carnivorous plant nursery in person, at least from a video, like you can see their plants here, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to actually see like where they're grown, I have drone shots of that, and like I have multiple videos out there. Um, so like we can look at Sarracenia. This is primarily where we're going to spend our time on their website. Looks like they've had a really good sale and they've gotten a lot of their plants sold out, which this is the time of the year right now that the plants are asleep anyway, so you're not going to get a whole lot of activity from them. But this is probably the main plant that they sell. This is the native purple pitcher plant. Unbelievable that it's in such large quantities here. You should see how the clumps are down there. There's one clip I got for this episode, and I think the pitcher plant was like 1.5 feet wide. It was crazy how wide it was. It's an old plant. So, but yeah, Carnivorous Plant Nursery propagates from seed, so they don't go out and dig them up and then sell them, and they do it very well. They propagate their plants, so they're getting seeds from these plants to then resell to you. So they're not going out and taking any from the wild. But yeah, you can see lots of variety here in the Sarracenia pitcher plants. So let's switch it up here. Let's go to something that I also love. These are the sundew. And they can cause a lot of harm to your frogs, because these little droplets, these little beads that look like water on the sundew are actually very acidic, and they're like kind of like Velcro, and it'll stick to your animal. So I would definitely not buy a sundew with the intention of growing it with frogs and toads. So here is Filiformis. Filiformis, it's I think the only sundew that we have that we're going to be using for our presentations. It's a very large native sundew. It just randomly showed up in Pennsylvania about a decade ago in a couple bogs in the southwest region. It's thought that either somebody planted it or that it just arrived on the foot of a bird because it's not too far over the border. For example, Filiformis grows in Maryland, but it never was thought to be able to grow in Pennsylvania. But it does grow in a couple of the bogs. So if I was looking for my animals, what would I want to grow? What would I want to take the chance on? So I'd be looking at the wildflowers. Doesn't look like there's anything right now. And then I'd look at bog plants. So these would be the plants that I would recommend growing with frogs and toads. Like pickerel weed is a pond plant. You can grow that actually outside for your pond. Cranberry is a beautiful vine, and plus you can get fruit from it if like you grow it right. So it has to go through dormancy. So some of these plants have to go through dormancy to see the flowers, to see these fruit. This is the American cranberry. This is more common, I think, in different parts of Pennsylvania. Where I live, though, where I see cranberries, it's definitely this one. So it's the northern cranberry, which makes sense, right? But again, either cranberry plant, you're going to have to grow and put it through dormancy. So just know that with all these plants here, the one plant you might not be able to get in dormancy and out, you might just be better off to leave it, would be this. And the bog violet's beautiful, it's cheaper. I actually had a lot of success with the bog violet. My mistake, I put it in dormancy and killed it. But if I didn't put it in dormancy, it was growing massive. The thing was wrapped around stuff, it was huge. So I would recommend the bog violet if you're looking for something that can survive in like more of a wet area. We got some seeds. Frogbit, I think frogbit's another one that you could grow. It's kind of like duckweed. So he's sold out, ironically, but that's primarily what I'd recommend for the carnivorous plant nursery. There's a lot of options here that you could take a look at, and I would encourage you to do so because Colin and Michael are hard at work and they do a very fantastic job. Now, moving forward, let's look at some ants here. So Mac, shout out to Mac Pridgeon. If anybody likes ants, if you're here to start watching our black field ant colony grow and get more airtime, comment black field ants or comment like Tar Heel ants or black field ants, and we'll see. Some of the followers that like the ants. I'd love to know if there's some of you out there that primarily are here for the ants, because I really love ants. I've been working with the black field ants that Mac got me, that he raised for me, and they're doing really well. They have not yet gone to sleep, and I'm going to let them kind of run as long as they can. So what I'm going to look at here is, there's different options here. So he's got some stuff on sale for ants here. So this is atrium, I think is what you would call it, $10 off, but he makes some really quality stuff. I'll just tell you right now, I really like what Mac does. This to me is beautiful. This is what I have for my black field ants. So if I was going to recommend something, it would be this. If you're in Pennsylvania or the Northeast, let me go back to the queen ants. So you can only own like harvester ants, carpenter ants, the black field ant. It doesn't look like he has too many options here for us specifically for the Northeast, but if you're watching this and you're from the Southwest, a lot of these species are, something you can own. Looks like he's got Southeast finally. So a Southeastern carpenter ant here. That's kind of cool. It looks like a newer ant that was added. I don't remember seeing that one. Let's see here. Oh wow, so red carpenter ants. So this would be another one that could be kept in Pennsylvania or Michigan, I believe. He has it listed, he has it broken down where he's allowed to sell them. Definitely Pennsylvania, Michigan, Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, New Jersey, New York. So if you're a follower from the Northeast or, the more northern, southeastern states like Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, you can have this as well. Carpenter ants are a little more challenging because they have more specialized diet than what the black field ant does, and I'm a noob when it comes to this. Here you go. So this is a western species here. I don't even know what this is, to be honest with you. I love Ants Canada. I watch a lot of his content. I love Tar Heel ants. Mac knows what he's talking about. So he has a Facebook group. I think it's like Tar Heel Ant Newsletter. It's a really good group, but it doesn't really look like too much. Let's go to special offers. That's cool. Let's take a look at this. So this would be good for a small colony that's just starting out. So that's pretty competitive from what I've seen. So I think that it's a good sale. So shout out to Mac. I don't really see a whole lot. So like we were real quick, we were talking about like harvester ants. I think you can own them pretty much everywhere. Let's see. Shipped to all over 48 states, except Florida and California. So, if you want to have harvester ants as pets, you're more than welcome to. That's a beautiful shot there, Mac. Yeah, beautiful pictures he has of the ants, and he takes really good care of them. He's not somebody who just goes out, bags ants, and wants to, get rid of them. So I'd recommend looking at some ants. We talked about, for Josh's frog section, what would be good feeders, what's a good critter that you can add into the diet of your frogs and toads. It's more advanced, even if you are new to keeping them, but ants, I believe, are going to become a big staple in the future, and I'm already on that wave. I already got my colony of black field ants for my animals to eventually have the chance to eat, but my ants are pets and they're also feeders. I'm letting the colony get larger before I would offer some. I'm just gonna like throw a few in here and there, but in the wild, frogs and toads primarily eat ants. Out of all the other species, they'll eat beetles and ants. There's so many of them in the wild, and where frogs and toads live, they encounter ants like crazy. So I'd recommend, if you're going to do anything and you want to take on a challenge, have an ant colony. Um, Here's a good company that's not Josh's Frogs that I also suggest, that I recommend. So they've got their shipping here. Looks like if you want to get something, um, you've got a limited amount of time here. So let's take a look here at what all they have. So I haven't really bought too many things from rainbow mealworms. So cleaner crew insects. Let's see what else we got here. Non-food insects. Okay, let's take a look at that. What does that mean? Jumping spiders. Oh, they've got some millipedes. Death fang beetle. Let's take a look at the giant chocolate millipede. What is that? That's pretty cool. That's not really expensive at all. Let's look at the rainbow millipede real quick. $30. Beautiful looking. See, it doesn't say where they're from though. That's like, I would want to know. I could obviously Google this and find it out, but like, where are they from? That's, to me, the most important part of this. I'll show you, if you're in California and you're watching this, you've lucked out. I want to get black crickets. I would love to, but I can't. They're amazing. Again, they're not like, how do I want to put it? They're going to be similar to the European field cricket, like you would get, or how the European house cricket, like the domestic cricket you see at Petco and like pet stores if they sell crickets on tap. Like I think DBD Pet Reptile also carries the European cricket. It's not the banded cricket. It's larger, more likely to attack your animal if it's hungry. The black cricket as well is another one of those species that would probably do that as well, but I just wanted to kind of show it because I think it's really cool, and I hope that they can deregulate it. So here we get into some unique little critters here. So this is something that I've been establishing right now. Not sure yet if I'm going to follow through with the project. I am growing them though. Some people have concerns that they can invade your house, so let's see if anybody said anything about it. Doesn't look like anybody said it, but I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me not to do it. They try to talk me out of buying them just because they are a risk. But a good feeder, a small feeder, I would not recommend this if you're new to roaches. Get the dubia roaches, don't get the red runners, because they could escape. They're very fast and stuff. That's cool. Florida legal roaches, what do we got? Oh, they got the green banana roach. I'm surprised that that is a legal roach for you, but it flies. Very nutritious, but be careful because it can scale glass. The discoid roach is new. The discoid roach is like the dubia roach. You can see some cool looking pictures they got here. It looks almost identical to one. You know, is that a dubia? Is that a discoid? Unless you're a roach enthusiast. I mean, obviously the adults look very different, but like the females and the males there, they look much larger than what the dubia roaches do. So if you have larger reptiles, the discoids would be a good option, or if you're from Florida, you know, the discoids would be a good option, but again, the dubia roaches are, in my opinion, the better option. They're just so common, so resistant to our care, Let's see what else we got here. What is chameleon feeder? Oh, that's kind of cool. So I think that's good. I'd recommend what I shared with you, crickets and roaches and stuff like that. So I'd give them a shout out there. So I do buy a lot from Missouri. I buy in bulk though. So here's what I would recommend if you were going to buy feeders like we just talked about, from whether it's rainbow mealworms or Josh's frogs. You want to feed them something. You want to give them some kind of a gut load that they're going to be able to eat, that then is going to go into your animals and it's going to be nutritious. So there are a couple options that you can choose from. I commonly promoted the Better Bug gut load. You can see here it's actually a little bit more expensive than what Amazon is. It's surprising, but yeah, I would, if you're gonna buy it, I'd buy the kilogram. I buy the 1 kilogram. So it's a good staple diet for crickets and roaches. Primarily though, the roaches are gonna be eating this. They like it. The crickets don't really like it much. I think it's a good source. However, it's a little bit more dated. So I have some other options here that I think you could get and that would work better, or just as good. But you'd have to get both of them at the same time if you want to compete with the Missouri Better Bug gut load. You can see here we broke this down with the podcast with Sean Murphy from Bruce Pets, and you can pick some of the stuff up at Bruce Pets probably too. Give a shout out to Bruce Pets or Michigan if you're watching from Michigan. But anyway, yeah, this is high levels of calcium, palatable. This is true. Like this part here is 100%. Because my crickets wouldn't eat the Better Bug, so I got this, and now my crickets eat this and they devour it. So very excited about this, and I use it with the roaches too. What I would recommend though, if you're gonna not use the Better Bug gut load, you would use the high calcium for crickets and other critters, and then you would use this. I actually bought the 25 pounds. I want to see how much I'll go through, but yeah, when it comes, it's beautiful. It's wrapped in it's a pretty cool box. But anyway, the aquatic turtle diet is primarily I think the most important of the feeders, because the roaches, the crickets, everybody will eat it, and it's got the most nutrients. But this plus the high calcium, if you feed both to your crickets and to your roaches and other critters, they will eat it. I know that a lot of the mealworms and waxworms will eat the high calcium diet, but anything that's more opportunistic will eat the pellets, which is the aquatic turtle diet. So I'd recommend those. They're not really on sale, sadly. I don't know if Missouri has a sale going on, but let's find out. Doesn't look like it. I think that's going to do it. That's going to do it for this episode. I just wanted to go through a bunch of different products, a bunch of different brands. I don't have affiliate links to all of them, just Josh's Frogs, but I just wanted you to see something that I thought was valuable, something that I believe would be of interest to you, just because I think that we oftentimes think about what can we get for our pets. Nobody releases content that is actually valuable during the holidays, where we could go buy this or buy that. Like soil and substrate is important, or a misting system might be a lifesaver, or a fogger, or insects might be on sale. Stuff that could save you a little bit of money, especially if you want to culture a roach colony, or if you wanted to culture ants, have an ant colony or an isopod colony, or earthworms, or the peanut beetles. You know what I'm saying? There's so much that you could possibly do for, whether it's $5 to $10, maybe even $25 less, but a lot of people don't know where to look or where to begin. So these are some of the main brands, name brands for their hobby, for their genre, whether it's Mist King or Tar Heel Ants. He's doing really well in the ant industry. Carnivorous Plants doing really well. Carnivorous Plant Nursery doing really well in the Carnivorous Plant Nursery, Josh's Frogs, Rainbow Mealworms, you know. So I'm promoting things that I think are very well known. They're not like shady websites. We didn't go to like some random place that you've probably never heard of. And you could find all these places on Instagram and Facebook, and odds are somebody's bought from them. You know, everybody's bought from Amazon before, so that's not even a question. But just wanted to showcase this and hopefully give you some ideas for holiday savings or what to be on the lookout for. Maybe it gave you some tips and ideas, but let me know what your thoughts are. If there's anything that stood out to you, whether it was on Amazon or some of the other websites, you know, what are you going to be purchasing for your pets this year? But that's all I have for you for this one. I look forward to reading your comments and hopefully catching up with you guys in the future episodes. But with that being said, happy Thanksgiving, and I hope that your pets are doing well. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share for more Wild Vivariums content. Thanks.